what do you prefer? Do you prefer the remix or the original of Jagged Edge's Let's Get Married?
I mean, I guess I've learned to prefer the remix, but I really was heavy on the original. But I start realizing some people ain't even never heard the original, you know.
A lot of people haven't heard the original.
Yeah. Which makes it tough for me when I'm doing remixes, because that, like, you know, for you to make a remix that's better than the original, or make it where people don't even hear the original, it makes it tougher when people try to come and try to get remixes from you. Like, they want you to do that same magic. And I don't know, you know, I can't put a finger on exactly what was done to make that remix that much better, because it's the same vocals as the original.
It's that beat, bruh.
Yeah, it is the
beat. And it's that run verse. Well, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, all the elements, but, you know, it's tough. And by the way, I'm glad that remix did what it did, because they were mad at me because I did the Sleeping in My Bed remix for Dru Hill. So they thought that I had gave their competitors a better record than I had ever given them. So, you know, to hear you talk about Let's Get Married, I feel accomplished.
And then you can tell them, like, see, guys?
Nah, I never said that. But I did say that. That's what I was saying at the beginning. When I say, aha, I'm like, aha, I did it.
Yes.
That's what I pretty much meant.
That's funny, because you had to, I mean, back then, I feel like all the groups probably had like a light rivalry going. It was like 112, J.E., Dru Hill.
Yeah. So I didn't get the chance. I did work with 112, like on their third album, but in the midst of it, I didn't get a chance to work with them. And that reason why I feel like, because it was so much of a, battle.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot you today. Sleeping in My... Speaking of... Man, I feel like the remixes are just kind of like... I feel like it's a thing of the past. And true remixes. Like, people will get new verses, but when you turn on a remix and it's different, the beat's different, it feels like a new song.
Yeah, but you know what that is? One is because a lot of people don't listen to radio. A lot of people don't understand shock value in music, period. Right? People just, and they think that remix is like, you know, just like I said, they think that people not telling them what the value of a remix actually does. A remix actually used to be for you to get records in spaces that the original couldn't get you in. So if you take Dru Hill and Jagged Edge, both slow versions,
they might get played like Urban AC.
Yeah, Urban
the R&B station.
Yeah. But when I did, like, say for instance, a perfect example, when I did Let's Get Married remix, Jagged Edge was never on Power 106 in LA. Never. Not one time. When that remix came out, Jagged Edge became a Power 106 mainstay.
And that song still is on the West Coast. That is a huge gold record.
Yeah. I actually feel like that remix actually kind of destroyed the Jagged Edge sound mentally, because from there, Jagged started seeing a different success. Right, because they got on bigger radio stations, Power 106, KMEL, these stations, and they start calling them to do radio shows, and they start doing this. So everything out. After that, they was like, we want to make up-tempo records. And I'm like, what? So then I had to go back in the studio and so then after that, I came right back with Where the Party At with Nelly. And that was the reason that we did that was because we was trying to follow Let's Get Married.
It's like, yo, we need some more of this. We got to come.
Yeah.
Yo, that Where the Party At, man. Yeah. Crazy. Hey, it's funny too, because, you know, I just saw that J.E. was they were in LA doing press, and you know, it's the one thing that kind of sucks about today's music landscape is it feels like groups are either they're just dead or they're just not as common, because I mean, people don't want to split up the bread, and there ain't as much bread as there used to be. You know?
Well, they don't, like, people just don't kick it the same. You know what I mean? Like, groups used to be like school friends, you know what I mean, that did talent shows, and they had went through a lot of things before they ever got to the industry, so the industry couldn't break them. Now, if a group was to come together, they just gonna come together based on them watching something on TikTok. They don't have no outside workings or things that they going through. So I think that's where, you know, that's where it's at a little bit. It's harder because the kids ain't really like outside like that, just hanging outside, kicking it.
What, you know, one of the vintage sounding R&B albums that I loved recently was the album you did with Division. I felt like you brought a sound that has been missing back. And now you're working with them officially.
Yeah, I signed them
because they left OVO.
Yeah,
and now they're with you. Shout out to Division. Great dudes, man. What is like? What inspires you to be like, all right? Because you've broken so many artists. I mean, as an executive, you're putting together a whole new album. You got a documentary coming out. But what is it about those guys in particular that inspired you to be like, yeah, no, like I want to do this again. I want to work with you officially.
Because they want to be responsible for putting R&B music back in a space that they felt like R&B music has been removed from. And I believe in that spirit. Like, if the only way it's gonna get back is by people that want to put it back in that space. It ain't gonna get back by a person just saying I make R&B music.
Right.
You gotta want to take that responsibility. You gotta want to do certain songs. You gotta want to do certain things that probably don't go with the norm of what's happening. So I'm into that. You know what I mean? It's just because I've made such big R&B records. I just feel like it's part of my duty to, at least acknowledge those that want to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to me, because you are a part of the two biggest, I would say, child hip hop successes ever, Bow Wow and Criss Cross. What were the difference between those two situations? Because Criss Cross, they changed fashion for real for a sec. Like, it was like kids was really rocking clothes backwards and shit.
Yeah.
But then there's like Bow Wow's Mr. 106 in Park, and has a whole other like level of like stardom, like Mike, movies, all this shit. Like, what was kind of like those two individual experiences?
Well,
like?
Criss Cross weren't actually musicians. I found these kids and they was just kids. I actually turned them into rappers. They weren't rapping before I met them. They didn't never make a demo. They never wanted to be rappers. Bow Wow was an actual rapper. He that wanted to be rapping. He was talking,
Yeah, he been rapping since he was a real tiny kid.
He's the kid on Snoop Dogg album that say, "My name is Snoop."
Hi, Snoop.
Yeah. That's Bow Wow. And he was 6 years old on the Snoop Dogg album. So he's been, and I'm a motherfucking gangster. He's been, what I mean? He's been in that space since he was 6 years old. So, he actually was more or less like a hip hop kid, and Criss Cross was less like they was made to be hip hop kids who actually became real hip hop kids, but that wasn't the bloodline that they came from.
That makes sense. Talk to me about the time. I vividly remember there's this time where you and Dr. Dre have this back and forth.
Yeah. It wasn't even no back and forth. I think it was like one time.
Well, yeah. I want to say, because then Eminem gets in on it.
Yeah.
Everybody gets in on it. I want to say it was on Obi Trice's album. Am I right? Wrong? Maybe I don't know.
No, I think it was, it might have been Obi Trice's album, but it was also...
some mixtapes?
Yeah. I mean, everybody was saying something about it.
Everybody was saying something. It felt like a lot of people were like, just like piling on to JD. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What for you, like... Did you and Dre ever, and like, how did the hatchet get buried in that situation?
Because I always respect Dre, you know what I mean? I think that, I think Dr. Dre's hip hop, you know what I mean? And hip hop is defend your turf, regardless of how you think somebody feel about you or whatever it is. Same thing with me. I hated it because I like Dr. Dre so much. Yeah. Like, Dr. Dre is probably the greatest hip hop.
It started with a magazine article, right?
Yeah, it started with a magazine article of me just saying, like, defending myself. Same thing. Like, it was like, so if we put you and Dr. Dre in separate rooms, who gonna come out with a song first? Me. I'm gonna come out with a full song. That's what I do, right? And Dre didn't like that. He ain't like that I said that. I'm not this. That's not a diss, by the way. It's just what I feel like, and as time went on, I think it's crazy because a lot of things I say, it be stuff that people have not started to pay attention to.